Witamy Państwa w naszym przenośnym studiu festiwalowym, Festiwalu Eufonie. Spotykamy się w Warszawie i moim dzisiejszym gościem jest Max Emanuel Cenčić, kontratenor. Hello.
Hello.
How did you feel yesterday singing the part of Gismondo, Re di Polonia, in such a place like Royal Castle in Warsaw?
It was really a very special evening, I think. It is a very beautiful place, and I enjoyed a lot the audience. Actually, their reaction was the best. They were very attentive and very generous with us soloists, so I really enjoyed that.
And it was not the first time when you collaborated with Martyna Pastuszka and a historical orchestra.
No.
How do you feel while collaborating with them?
It's marvelous because she's not just conducting, she's also playing the first violin. So doing music with them is like having a chamber ensemble, but like 20 people. And they really follow every little reaction of the singers, so it's really, really nice.
And what's the secret of the Leonardo da Vinci's popularity? Because his operas were so popular in 18th century. Why was it so?
His music was at that time very inventive. For us, of course, today we maybe don't understand so much the inventiveness of his music, because we have heard so much more until today, from Mozart to Wagner, Beethoven, Chopin. So for us this music sounds very archaic, but you have to imagine that before Leonardo da Vinci the music was very, very simple and not so developed, and Vinci came up with a lot of melodic and dramatic inventions that didn't exist before. He was considered to be the Italian Lully. That means that he stressed a lot the importance of word and poesy and drama, and trying to express it in music. And that means that the recits, the accents and the music are really colliding one with each other all the time. And even when he writes arias, the music is trying to sort of like almost in a symphonic telling and melodic way to give us the impression of the text, what is being sung, which is extraordinary because something like that didn't exist before. Yeah? So Handel took a lot of his music for his pasticci in London to set operas together, and many of operas by Vinci were models for other composers to copy. And so even Handel was copying some of the stories and some of the even melodic ideas in his own operas.
Yeah, Handel was very good at copying, I believe.
Well,
he was copying himself.
I don't think that Handel was a copyist. Handel was a genius on his own. I think that he was, at that time, artists worked in such a way that they were seeking other artists that were best at something, and then they were trying to sort of get influenced and get inspiration from them. This is what you see in pictorial art and also in music, and so it was more like a competition among artists trying to see who is going to make the best thing. Mm-hmm. But of course always based on looking what the other is doing, because in a time when there was no TV, no internet, no nothing, people had to be somehow informed. So of course they were looking what others were doing in order to create things on their own, but inspiration was of great essence. And what is interesting about, let's say, European culture in general is that this sort of inspiration in architecture, in music, in painting was traveling far. You know, it was not just in Italy, it was in England, it was in Russia, it was in Poland, it was in Spain, it was, you know, it was really international. and everyone who counted himself to be part of the cultivated Western world would try to, you know, build the gilded palaces, and you know, and so the same thing is when you are in Warsaw, you go into the palace here. It's like as if you are somewhere in Paris or in Rome, you know, and there is this universality of European culture that was really spreading from east to west.
And you mentioned competition, and I would like to ask about competition in each opera, because 18th century opera is like a talent show for singers. Everyone shows his best. And do you feel that feeling during the performance that you should be better than ever, better than the other singers at this particular area?
Well, you see, opera seria is actually not quite what people believe. Of course, everyone is trying to give his best, and I think that's logical. But what is very interesting in opera seria is that many times main characters are not title characters. Even, for example, in Gismondo, I have the title character, but I'm not the main character. In singing-wise, actually, main character is more Ottone. So the thing is that in opera seria there was this philosophy that the main characters should have the generosity of giving the lesser roles the title role, while themselves being not the title role. You see, that you will find in many operas true. Take, for example, Artaserse. You know, Artaserse is not the main character, it's Arbace. If you take, for example, let's say Tamerlano by Handel, also it's not Tamerlano, it's actually Andronico is the main character. He has the most arias. So there's always this this idea that the most distinguished singer is actually not putting himself in front of others. There's some sort of an idea of collegiality among it, and I find this very nice, actually. Yes.
And do you believe in democracy during the performance? Do musicians can be equal in kind of discussing how to perform?
I think that of course, yes. However, you in music, the problem is that it is not something where you have the time to sit down and discuss. You know, time is of essence. You have short resources. You can only rehearse 2-3 days and then go on stage, and there is no time really to discuss things. But I think that what is important is that everybody has to agree on somebody who will lead, and then if there are some small things you can certainly say, but maybe I could do this or that. But I think that generally musicians have more of an instinct, you know, because it's an instinctive job. It's not something that you can discuss. You just have to try out and see what feels better. And I think that this unity of feeling is more important than sitting down and discussing things.